All right. Well, thank you so much. Well, I would like to call up our guest of the night. He is someone that I mean, when I started, I was all excited because after I took Andy's class back in 2019, I was so proud of myself because I bought my first mobile home 3 weeks later. And I think that year I bought 3, and I think Roddy's first year, sorry, Rodolfo. Sorry, because I've heard Rod, all the, you did what, 12? Your first year? Yeah, almost, okay, well, like close enough. We'll say 10. And it's just, he really amazed me. He was only 19 when he started. But anyway, without further ado, Rodolfo, why don't you come on up? Wow, what a welcome. Welcome. Just realized I didn't have your mic. There you go.
Mic check. Wonderful. Thank you, Farrah. Thank you, everyone, for giving me the opportunity to listen to me speak. And thank you, Farrah.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. The reason why I never know what I'm gonna do each month, and just some idea will come to me. And it was actually in this room while we were taking the advanced mobile home course, so the Wizard Reunion, and he was actually up here as one of the student speakers, and he just started. I don't know how it came up about your properties in Ohio, and it really intrigued me because, I mean, I have 3 doors, so to be 23 and you have over 30 doors, I just was like, I think these people definitely want to hear how you're doing it, and these are out-of-state properties, and I know a lot of people love their California properties, so I just wanted to pick your brain and instead of me and you just talking, I figured everyone else could hear it.
Yeah, no, so there's definitely levels to it. It's just like buying mobile homes, right? You start off buying your first one, and then through your faith in doing that action and pursuing it, you learn of other ways to acquire mobile homes at either a cheaper rate, a faster rate, or a more efficient rate. And that's basically what happened with me in Ohio. I was buying these houses 20% down, getting a DSCR loan. It's a lot of cash because these houses are 75 grand, 85 grand, and you're putting down 20%. That's like 19 to 25,000 per closing, right? But through calling different realtors and different wholesalers, I was introduced to a bank where I can take over portfolios that have been defaulted on for a very cheap price and assume the bad debt, get them to loan me the money to fix it up as well, and then also bring in another bank to refinance it. And now through that, I've learned how to buy houses. Now I'm buying them I just bought one this week for $26,000 at a foreclosure.
In Ohio?
In Ohio.
Okay.
All cash. The bank that I work with, I was like, well, hey, if you guys are letting me assume loans that are under 60% loan to value, if I buy a house theoretically that's under 60% loan to value, instead of just like you give me the draws for rehabbing floor, painting, windows, can you give me a draw for my purchase price? And they're like, yeah, totally. So probably later this week, they're going to wire me the money back that I spent on it, which I've never done before with any hard money bank. Theoretically, my numbers are pretty straight. I have a really good relationship with the appraiser that I work with. She gives me great values on all my other properties. This deal, for example, they should be paying me to buy the house $10,000 to $15,000 by the time I get my cash out refi. So, yeah, Farrah.
Okay.
That's just an example of one deal.
How did you stumble upon this? Like, I heard all this. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Someone could correct me, but I did not catch. First of all, why Ohio and why that part of Ohio?
Yes.
And then you found these properties that were defaulted. Kind of explain maybe a little bit more, from the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I always wanted to invest out of state. I know California is fantastic. There's amazing equity, amazing appreciation, and I know that when I'm older, I'll appreciate appreciation, right? Funny, appreciation. However, I'm not older. I want cash flow right now, and I also don't want to spend $100,000 on a down payment or, various percentages, fees related to the purchase price. All that stuff can start to add up in California. So I've always wanted to do out-of-state investing. I simply didn't have the courage to do it. So I did pay someone $7,000 for a course on how to do out-of-state investing. What I realize is now I probably have consumed less than 24 hours of actual material and studying from that course. But as a lot of you know, sometimes it's more about the action of paying for something to be more committed to it and then follow through with it. If someone gave you a book for free, you probably wouldn't read the book. But if you paid for the book, you're going to make sure you do it because you paid for it. So that's the same ideology behind my influence in going through with it and following through with it. When I realized a lot of people tell me don't invest out of state because you can't see it. But I realize a lot of the mobile homes, I don't have any, well, I do have some real estate here in California, but it's only flip projects that I'm highly leveraged with partners. So it's not, I don't keep them as rentals. I just flip them. But I do have mobile homes here that produce passive income, as you know. And Farrah, how often do you go see one of your units that's producing you passive income? They're paying the rent, everything is going good. How often do you go see it?
I don't.
Exactly. So
unless Andy would say he goes at least once a year in December to drop off a Christmas present,
right.
And then he the story.
But what's gonna change? What's gonna change if you don't go and drop off? The rent's still gonna come in. They're still gonna, and if anything happens, it's a phone call away. Yeah, and then of course it's up to you as the investor operator to have your systems in place that if something does go wrong, you have boots on the ground that can go see what's up.
Go ahead, Christy. She's saying Christy's question is, how did you get your systems in place?
Okay, so you can either, it's like there's principles to things, right? So it's almost as if saying, okay, what's the difference between a mobile home that pays you $500 a month, right? And you buy the mobile home for $2,000 at an auction, you put $10,000 into it, and you sell it on a note for like $50,000, right? There's people that will go, and this is just how do you say? There's a word for it. It starts with an M. It's like an allegory or like a metaphor. Metaphor, yes. This is a metaphor. If you want $500 per month in cash flow, you can either go buy a mobile home, be into it for less than $30,000, or you can go buy a duplex in San Bernardino and spend $200,000 on it. So with my systems in place, I try to keep my costs very low. I realize that all it takes to be a property manager is to go knock on doors and collect rent. So I'm not paying a company out there 10% or 13% and letting them collect my deposits and first month's rent when I can pay a guy off Facebook Marketplace $55 to $75 a month to go do all of that for me. So that's one way that I save a lot of money. That's one of the systems and processes that I have in place. And then I have my construction crews. So you want to have your property manager. First, you want to have your realtor. They connect you to have a lot of deals. Then you want to have your property manager. Again, just some guy, Facebook Marketplace. You got to be able to trust them, right? And then 3, you have to have...
Sorry, you found your property manager on Facebook Marketplace?
Yes. Yeah, I looked up handyman, and I said, because I had already bought one of them, I'm like, hey, I need this hot water heater replaced, but I only have 3 houses now. It started off as 1, but one day I told them I'm going to have 100. So stick with me, and I promise it'll pay off. $75 a door is, once you get to 100 houses, that's $7,500 a month. That can be life-changing money for someone. Of course, he doesn't know, once I get to 50, I'm going to have a talk with him and be like, hey, you're not really managing 75 houses or 50 houses if one of these you're only getting 2 phone calls a week. You're only managing 2 houses a week. So you find different ways to cut costs. Next, you want to have your banks. Banks are extremely important. And when it comes to banks, there is a lot of red tape, but if you can prove that you're competent to a bank and you can get the job done, because like I said, these houses that I'm taking over are from flippers that brought deals to banks. They defaulted and they didn't get the job done. Now the bank has this, pardon my French, shitty property, right? And of course, instead of foreclosing, they go to the guy, they say, hey, let the properties go, sign off as a seller or the bank, and then let someone else assume the mortgage. So you want to have your realtors, property managers, and your banks in place. Yeah.
So you're buying these directly from, say, a hard money lender where the flipper did not perform.
Yes.
And then they're basically paying you to do it, and then you're holding it as a rental.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Has anyone heard of buying properties from a hard money lender? Yeah, I figured Evan would raise his hand. Andy, okay. Rich, probably. Chris. Oh, yeah, Chris. Yeah, Did you guys have to do that at Trillion? Okay. Okay. It wasn't my house, though. Okay. Wow. Okay. So I do have. You kind of touched on some of my questions already, but I kind of wanted to touch on. I'm kind of exploiting you a little bit, to be honest, because you are 23. You started when you were 19. Who is under the age of 25 in this room? Raise your hand. Ricardo. Yep, I knew it. Okay, that's not fair. Okay, there's a handful of you in this room. I really wanted the younger generation to see a real example of another young person in this business, because I didn't get started. I'm 42 now, so I started at 37. So I mean, it's not late, but it's also not early. I was just talking to Liza about that. She's like, it's a good age to get started. Yeah, I could have started younger, but I'm just like, one, I'm really proud of you, because it's a really good example for your generation. So that's why I brought you here today specifically. But I mean, you're a very interesting guy, and you're doing a lot of things. You're a mover and a shaker, and I'm just like, man, like people like Farrah, you're doing a lot. I'm like, I don't even feel like, when I look at you, I'm just like, wow. So anyway, Chris has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna repeat the question too.
My parents.
And the question was, what does his parents do? Which we'll get, if you want to go ahead and talk about your parents, but my first question was, what inspired you to enter real estate at such a young age? But yeah, what do your parents do?
Perfect. That's a perfect entrance. Segue. Okay, so ever since I've been alive, my parents have been in real estate. My parents have been a husband and wife realtor team. They've sold hundreds of houses, maybe even thousands. They've been selling maybe 30 to 50 houses a year between the two of them. And my dad was a flipper. He flipped probably over 100 houses in the Inland Empire area when I was around, just growing up. But when I entered high school, he really stopped flipping. He got out of the game and was just, he had rentals. My mom was still selling a lot of real estate. He was helping her with that. And I was working at Banana Republic at the age of, I think I was 18 or 19. And I would see all these videos on YouTube about people wholesaling. And at that point, it had been so long, I knew that my dad had experience flipping houses. And when I was younger, I always looked up to that, and I wanted to do something like that. But there had been such a disconnect because years had gone by where I had seen him be active. And I said, hey, well, Dad, I want to be a wholesaler. I've seen all these things on. I guess I never really asked him about it. Now that I think about it, I hadn't, ever brought it up to him that I want to do what he does. And maybe if I had come from that perspective or from that point of view a little bit more honestly, he would say, well, hey, I can show you. But instead, I had outside influences, and I learned about wholesaling. And he said, well, go if you want to learn about real estate, look up a networking event. Go on Meetup, go on Facebook, look up real estate networking events around you. And that's when I've discovered the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So you and I know your brother Max,
Yes.
Did you guys start the mobile home investing together? Did you guys kind of branch on your own? Like, talk about that dynamic. How'd you guys teamed up and stuff?
Yeah, we did collaborate on, I think, our first deal or two deals. After that, we had some disagreements, and we went our separate ways.
Brothers.
Yeah, and we went our separate ways. And he is now my business partner again. So for the past year, all the units that I have in Ohio, he's my everything, all my flips, my rentals that I have, he's my 50% partner. He's my right-hand man. He is busy with a lot of stuff, so I am the managing partner of a lot of this, but I always go to him for, as in business sometimes you can be doing 90% of the work, but you need someone to share that load with, the stress of things. So yeah.
I totally understand that. Yes, Ebony.
Okay, so did you and your brother both go to Andy's class?
Yes, we did.
Her question was if both him and his brother went to Andy's class, and they both did, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I did too. Who all has taken Andy's class, out of curiosity? Woo! Andy, look how many students you have in here. Wow, that was amazing. I'd say that was what, 80% of the room, 90. Oh man, yeah, and
But like when you left the class, what did you do after you left the class?
Andy Teasley, Bandit Signs, DirtCheapSigns.com. I was attending not webinars, but the events you guys hold on Zoom, the Zoom events. I was attending as much of those as possible every single time. As I was working, I'd be doing my best to learn from Andy, Peter. And I'd pull out my telescoping ladder and say, "Hey, Max, park here," and we'd put the panic lights on, and I would go and nail it up, and I
so
would come back down.
he was on Zoom and putting up bandit signs. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. That reminds me of my friend Yeji. She flips mobile homes in Colorado, and she'll be on Zoom, working on the mobile home, like as she's on the exchangers meeting. So wow.
And I do want to say I couldn't have done any of this without this group right here. This group is not just about learning, but it's about networking. The only way that I was able, my personal credit, it's good, but it's not amazing. My amazing friend Goodwin here has allowed me to refinance those houses in Ohio with his credit. So now, because he has a good credit score, I obtain an amazing interest rate. Of course, I give him some of the cash flow. And then same thing, I remember for my first portfolio, I got the money for the point. It's not a down payment. When you assume a loan, they make you pay points in legal. I got that from another investor that is also in this room.
Hold on. How much money did Goodwin have to put in for
He
that?
didn't put any money. I think I
Okay,
paid you like a
so-
couple grand, right? Like up front.
So just to kind of give you guys an idea, because everyone's always asking, like, how much is it to get started? There you go. If you're a credit partner, you can make money that way too.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's other ways besides flipping and wholesaling. There's a lot more ways. So that's why we're here and learning this. So thank you.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, of course. I just wanted to. make that
Okay.
clear.
So what inspired you to start? I know you said that you're looking at those videos. Is like, why real estate? Why not? I know you did get your realtor license.
Yes.
I guess touch on why this route. Why not school? Why not? Or did you go to school? Like, what's your path? Like,
Yeah. So
talk about your path.
I'm not. I was never really good at school, like studying. I'm not very. I like to study things that I'm interested in, but I was never really that good in school. And career-wise, I think I wanted to be a nurse, or a registered nurse, but that didn't work out. I put in applications. I didn't get accepted, and then I think I was gonna go apply at a coffee shop or something. Yeah, like at a cafe. I was gonna go work at a cafe, like in Ukaipa, and that's when I started seeing these videos about people my age across all over the country making lots of money in real estate, doing something called wholesaling, which Evan Brown knows very well, right? Wholesaling, and Rich too, and a lot of other people here wholesale too. But at that point in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I should stop coasting and not knowing what I'm going to figure out, and maybe I should take action and be intentional about what I want to do with my life. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? Let me jump into real estate.
Okay. Yeah. So he did answer that earlier when I asked him. Yes, Janine.
How did you find the lender that had these defaulted properties?
So the question is, how did he find the lender with the defaulted properties?
Yeah, so my plan was to just keep flipping mobile homes over here for cash, and then using that money to put on 20% down payments for houses in Ohio. That was a little bit what I was going over earlier. Sometimes in life, you'll do something prepared to do it a certain way, but through doing it and having that faith and moving forward, you'll find a better way to do it. So a realtor that I was buying these houses with, actually I wasn't even buying the houses with him. He had a listing, and I called him and I told him a little bit about myself, and he didn't even know he's like a henchman for the guys at the Hard Money Bank. They don't really have a good he's like, they don't treat each other well. But he had known another guy that owns this like big construction company, and there's a lot of intricacies, like things that banks can't do so they don't violate certain, so they got to use like middlemen to like, transition stuff so they don't get taxed. a large amount. But I met, yeah, exactly. So I
I'm
met
not gonna repeat
I met
that.
him through a guy, through another guy, through another guy. Now I have a fantastic relationship with the guy that owns this bank. I'm on the phone with him every other day, talking about new deals. My recent purchase with them, I bought a small apartment complex from them. And now they're always got projects. He tells me, I said, hey, well, what do you have in the pipeline? Well, hey, this guy's not making his payments and he hasn't, done anything with the property. So I'm always following up, but at the same time, I'm looking for new banks that I can repeat this with. Yeah, but it just came through a realtor. And realtors are very important because they know everyone.
Josh, you have a question?
When you say bank, obviously it doesn't sound like this is a bank in America.
No.
What can you describe a little bit more kind of what type of bank?
The question is, what kind of bank?
I mean, that's the funny thing. I looked this bank up. Of course, I can't give my source out. But if you look this bank up, you won't find them anywhere. They do no type of advertising. They have no digital footprint. I do know that they have about $400 million out in loans right now. However, I'm looking at like the payoffs and like the settlement statements when I close these deals, and I realize that the bank isn't even using their own money. They're using like individuals' money. So you won't see like the bank's name on the payoff statement. You'll see like Deborah Martin, DDS, and a bunch of other lenders. So they're definitely not a traditional bank like Bank of America, but it's a hard money bank. Yeah. Yes.
So, or more like private money where they're taking other people's money and getting returns for it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what were you? Okay, I don't. Did you say why you selected the area of Ohio?
Oh, no, I haven't gone over
Okay.
there yet.
Let's touch on like what's your criteria when you're deciding which market to go into. So like, and then are you looking at other markets right now?
I am looking at other markets. So really quick to start from the beginning. When I took this course, I paid $7,000. There's different markets you can invest in, right? Every market has pros and cons. As you know, the purchase price has to be relative to what you're getting in monthly rents, right? So there's a lot of markets where you can purchase properties for $75,000 to $50,000, and your rents are going to be anywhere from $1,100 to $1,400 to $1,500 per said property. However, then you have to consider crime rates. You have to consider, is this a blue state or a red state? What's the population like? Is the population going up or down? What's employment like? If you don't want to go into a city and buy 5 houses and say, okay, I bought 5 houses here, let me jump ship and go to another city. You want to try and keep everything in one place as possible. So another market, it might make more sense to do some shorter term investments there, but it might not make sense to grow your whole portfolio because the rents might look good now, but you look at something and you say, hey, it actually has a declining population for the past 5 years. What's that going to, do I want to put all my eggs in a basket here and have 100 houses here 10 years from now? So there's a lot of different, that's the reason I chose Akron, where I invest now, is because it has a rising population. The unemployment rate is going down. The local government's putting a lot of money into the city, and the population is almost 200,000. So and the crime rates are low. I almost invested in Memphis. And there's a website I use called Crime Spotter. You can enter in your address for wherever you live or whatever subject property you're buying, and it'll tell you all the recent crimes that have happened there, when, the type, the arrest date, and Memphis has tons of like drive-by shootings. So I don't want to go and collect rent or have my property manager die. So that's why I chose Ohio, or more specifically Akron, Canton area.
Awesome. Can you? What are some red flags that you were? I mean, I know you said crime, the population, but like red flags, like when you're looking at a property, even or.
Well.
Or you just see cash flow and you don't care.
No, I definitely care about. Water damage is horrible, fire damage is horrible. But it's really, everything is relative. If I get it for a cheap enough price, I don't care about the amount of work that needs to be done. It just, price is relative to the work that needs to be done.
Speaking of work, I meant to ask you this earlier when we're talking about getting started. Who did your work when you first started out? And I kind of know the answer, but and then like, what are you doing now?
For properties here in California?
Well, let's start with your properties here in California. But when you first got started, because I'm guessing you didn't have any properties out of state yet.
No.
So when you first got started, and then what are you doing now?
So when I first started, I was using a crew, but I was also doing a lot of the work to save money. I would pull up in my 1998 F-150, which I've since sold, and I would do material runs. I would do trash outs. I would do a lot of the work myself, whatever I could to help the job get done quicker and get done on time. Now I have about 5 different crews, and every crew has pros and cons. Some are cheaper, but they take a little bit longer. Some are more expensive. They're faster. And then some, there's really no pro or con. They're just decent, but you need someone to get the job done. And then in Ohio, I have 3 crews out there. I have some Russian guys that I work with. They're fantastic, but they have this really thick accent, so it's really funny. Like, Rod, we have something to tell you. Or, it's really funny communicating with them. Yeah. And then I have my property manager, which I'm thinking of retiring pretty soon. Replacing. And then I have another crew of some young guys that are really fantastic. Yeah.
And you're finding them Facebook Marketplace? Where else? Or
I think Facebook Marketplace, where I looked up these guys. I found them on Google, the Russian guys. They rehabbed 2 houses for me. Get this, completely. Labor here is expensive. Over there, it's so cheap. They rehabbed 2 houses for me. They changed all the windows in the house, changed all the flooring in the house, added bedrooms, installed bathroom vanities, baseboards, like a full cosmetic rehab. 2 houses for $10,000 total. Well, that's labor only, but still, and they banged it out in like 3 weeks. Yeah.
Can they move to California?
I told my parents I'm gonna move to Ohio, and they told me don't. You'll lose your mind and you'll never come back.
Wow. Before you continue, any questions on what we touched on so far? Okay. I just want to make sure because I have more questions. Oh, go for it.
So, since you started investing in Ohio, how often do you find yourself out there?
I've only been there once.
Were you out there when you first purchased the house to assess the property?
No, I just do Google Street View. Yeah, Google Street View. I just go out there virtually on Google Street View, and I look at the area because everything's pretty relative. I just look at the overall demand. Like, that's why population is so important to me, and that website Crime Spotter, because I know if I have a house on the south side and the crime rate's the same as the north side, there's really no difference. A house is a house anywhere. You have to have there's things that apply to that, but pretty much if you have all your other principles, if you have your principles locked in, then nothing changes if you buy a house on this street versus that street. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's very practical, yeah.
So when you, say, this happened to me a few times. I'll look on Zillow and I look at the pictures, and then when you get to the house and you go see it, it's obviously the pictures that they took before they sold the house and someone lived in it for 25 years.
Yes.
There's all sorts of new damage.
Yeah.
You run into, it sounds like you're kind of rolling the dice.
Yeah, that happened to me recently.
So you don't have someone there taking pictures for you
No, I do.
before or after the work. So you do get current.
Yeah, so whenever I get a
Pictures.
property even thrown my way that I'm gonna consider, I'll tell my guy John to go, hey John, can you go check out this property? There's no lockbox code. They said we can break in, so just break in. Yeah, and then he gets into the property however he needs to, FaceTimes me. That happened recently. I bought another portfolio of 5 houses. One of them was a duplex. I looked at the property on Zillow. I was like, I was telling my brother, this is a fantastic house, dude. This duplex is fantastic. Look, it's turnkey. My guy goes there. The top unit has been burnt, has fire damage. But here's the thing. So you want to start calling the city and finding out if there's any red tags. If the city hasn't been out there and hasn't red tagged it yet, you can rehab that unit without them even knowing. And it's what they don't know. Huh? Oh, I'm being taped? Okay, I redact that. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I pull all my permits and pay all my fees. Yeah, and I love waiting in line and being told when I can